Hello guys, how are you doing? My name is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and welcome back. So I'm going to be about 2 days late to the party by the time you finally watch this video. This was news earlier this week. Everyone got to make a video about it and discuss their feelings and kind of break down the whole situation, which was really cool, and I watched pretty much most of the videos from people that I really care about talking about what's going on with Atari. And unfortunately, my schedule just doesn't work that way, and I have not had an opportunity to get to it until now. But it's a big deal. It's really crazy. I definitely have feelings on it. So we got to talk about the Atari Box. So where to begin with the Atari Box? It was revealed earlier this year. It was teased right before E3. Atari has some sort of new console and piece of hardware that will play games that they're trying to release sometime soon. And it's been pretty mysterious, except for some like computer-generated mock-ups of the two different models of console that they want to release. And that was pretty much all they gave us. And kind of hints or other sort of statements indicating the idea of having classic Atari games and also still playing modern content. I guess I should add that. There were two models they talked about and showed concept art of, and then they talked about those two features. And that was all we knew until earlier this week, when apparently an email went out to a lot of people who are signed up on their email platform, I guess, to get updates and information about whatever it is that Atari wanted to share at any given time. And that's what a lot of people have talked about. I'm sure a lot of you guys even know these details, so I don't need to retread it too much. The long and the short of it is they gave us quite a bit more info as to the game plan for what they're trying to accomplish and do with the Atari Box, some of the ideas of the features and the architecture of what's going to be inside, and their overall business model, which is pretty strange. So what are the few things we know? What are the few things that I can even talk to you guys about as far as sharing my opinion on it? One of the things that I can't really speak too much on is that apparently it's going to be using an AMD graphics card or chipset or whatever. It's powered by AMD. And other than being a gamer who knows that AMD is one of the many ways that a console or a piece of hardware can be powered, I believe it's the graphics card. That's all I can say. You guys know me. I don't know the technical things, and I don't understand the hardware and the way these things break down. I barely understand those. I just understand the end result and the products. So it's powered by AMD, and what I've been able to gather from other folks who are far more tech savvy than me who've talked about this is that ideally this thing being powered by AMD means it's probably not going to be able to play some of the more current AAA or big budget or high graphic powered sort of games that come out nowadays. I think that this puts it more in like the 360 sort of range, and maybe even slightly less powerful than that, but you know, don't quote me. I just know that it's less capable than even the Switch, which is the least capable of all the hardware currently on the market. So it's not like we can probably expect games like Red Dead Redemption or, you know, anything else, a Destiny, or even probably a Call of Duty to be able to come to the Atari Box, which definitely, if that's true, and I certainly believe the people out there who've talked about this, then that really helps put in perspective maybe what kinds of games and content we might be able to expect on the Atari Box. Something else we know as far as what the system is actually capable of or made of is that it's going to run on a Linux operating system. Now, I'm a little bit more familiar with what that means, of course, because that really gives us an idea as to further what kind of things we can expect from this games-wise. If it's running on Linux, that says a couple of things. It's probably going to be playing a lot of PC games. It's probably going to be playing a lot of like mobile sort of games, which is something I talked about back when I made my first video about this thing, that maybe what they're trying to do is make this thing similar to like what the Ouya was, which was a console hardware you attach to your TV that has a controller that is letting you play literally like mobile app games and things that you would have on your cell phones and tablets and whatnot, only on a TV screen with a controller in your hand and not a touchscreen device. And I think, man, I could be wrong on this, but I feel like the Ouya also ran on Linux. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong down below. I didn't think to look that up, but I feel like it was. So either way, running on Linux tells us we can probably expect those kinds of games. It's probably going to be something that a lot of tech-savvy people will be able to mod and do, or at least mod very easily, and be able to change what they want out of the operating system, because Linux really allows people to do that who are into that thing. And we're probably going to be seeing a lot of PC games like Steam games and smaller tier indie games and things like that, which inherently isn't a bad thing, but it does change this from being something that feels like it's probably meant to compete with the PlayStations, Switches, and Xboxes of the world. They also did confirm in this email that yes, retro Atari games are going to be made available on this thing. Apparently they're going to be free maybe, or downloadable, or who even knows, probably just access to some sort of online streaming store for old Atari games. The last two big things is that it's going to be crowdfunded. There's an Indiegogo campaign, and they're basically saying, hey, we want you to be a part of the process and part of developing the Atari Box. It's a crowdfunding thing. You can buy in to help create it and support it and make it a reality by giving us your money before there's a product. And I have so many problems with crowdfunding. You guys know that if you've been following me for a while. I don't like any. I don't care if it's Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or whatever. I am equal opportunity hater of all things crowdfunding. It is just not interesting to me. I don't like it. So this is really disappointing news. And then they also kind of gave a price point. They said it's going to probably retail for between $250 and $300. And that's been a real big talking point for a lot of people, especially the people who are really, really upset about the Atari Box and all this information, is the price. So that's a quick rundown of all the bullet points that I at least found interesting and stuff that to me gives me an idea of what this thing is going to be and gives me a jumping off point for how I wanted to really talk about and break down this information. So what do I ultimately feel about everything Atari Box and all these details and everything that's happened? Not excited, not thrilled. I guess I can use the word disappointed, but it's hard to say that because I feel like to be disappointed kind of insinuates that you had expectations at a certain level, and I don't even know where my expectations were. I can say that, I mean, I like Atari, I want to love Atari, I have very fond memories of playing our Atari 2600 before the NES came out. Yes, I am that old. That is a very, very small wee lad. My younger brother and I, and my older brothers too, I guess we were all playing on our Atari 2600 before one of my older brothers finally brought home an NES in like 1986 or whatever. And obviously blew our minds and changed my life forever, definitely for the better. So, like, I have fond memories of that. Also, weirdly, I have no defense for this other than it just is a fact. Weirdly, I have an Atari Jaguar, and I love the Atari Jaguar. It's not quality, and I know it's, like, hip to, like, make fun of it and crap on it, and the AVGN made amazing videos dissing on the Atari Jaguar, and it's all true. Like, it's not like it's a great product. I just, when it was coming out, I just was so into the idea of the Atari Jaguar being awesome that I wanted to believe in it. And so, you know, as a young kid, as a teenager, and the younger you are, the more you'll lie to yourself, by the way. I lied to myself. I was like, oh, the Jaguar is the best. It's way better than the PlayStation. That thing's dumb compared to the Jaguar. Obviously not true. And, but I still have a great memory of it, is what I'm trying to say at. So I appreciate the best things Atari's done. They've made some great games in the past too, even once they went third party. So it's not like I want to hate Atari, and I would love to see Atari come back and be relevant with a quality product. It's like, I don't think, and I made the whole thesis of my first video was based around this. I don't think there is room for a fourth player really in this industry to stand up against Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. So it's like, I don't necessarily think that they should try, but if they were trying to make a viable competitor, I would still be excited and say, hey, game on, man, bring it on. Let's see how this plays out. I like Atari, so I'd like them to be successful. I'll always welcome a new platform to play good games on, but nothing that we've seen or heard from yet when it comes to the Atari Box tells us we're getting a quality, viable, worthwhile piece of hardware introduced into the market. Again, to me, the crowdfunding thing says it all. Suddenly, it's like, there's far less dignity behind the idea, in my opinion. There's far less realism or tangibility to this thing because it's not a product. It's not anything. It's an idea that a company just wants money for before it's an idea, before it's a product that's worthwhile. And I won't pretend like there aren't times where crowdfunding does make sense for certain products and certain things and has even yielded quality products, you guys. I'm not blind to that fact, so please understand that. But in general, like as a whole, when I think about crowdfunding, it's like you want money for nothing. You just want money for nothing. I like the idea of living in a world where whenever a product is going to exist, that I might be interested in or just wants money from a consumer, it should be a product. It should already be available. It should already be supported and invested in by the businesses behind the scenes to help make it a reality. And then they have to sell me on it to make me want to buy it. That's the way I like my everything. So I don't like the idea in the gaming space, a hobby I'm so obviously passionate about and invested in. I don't like the idea of companies saying, hey, give us your money before there's a product, and don't you trust us? And it's like, no, I don't trust you. And when it comes to the Atari Box, I don't even like you, so I don't want to give you my money, and I don't like the idea that you're trying to trick people into getting money before you've made anything close to a compelling product. But I should calm down here, because ultimately, I'm actually really not, like, mad about this. A lot of people are mad about this, and for reasons that are totally justified. But for me, the reason I think I'm not, like, upset about this is because I feel like Atari doesn't owe us anything, and we don't owe Atari anything in this whole venture. So it's like, I don't think there's any sort of obligation for Atari to make a product that has to be something that's interesting to the kind of core gamer that I am and pretty much all of you guys are, and anyone else out there talking about this. I mean, no, they don't have to make something that we're interested in, so I don't feel like we have to expect anything. Therefore, I don't feel compelled to be angry about it. Again, I mean, just not interested and maybe a little bit disappointed is the closest I am. And also just confused and weirded out and curious. I guess I'm even curious, like, what will this thing be? Will it ever come to fruition? Will it turn out to be cool? Will it be a hit? Or will it be just garbage like it kind of seems like it's going to be garbage? I mean, it's just all going to play out the way it's going to play out at this point, and I'm obviously not going to invest any money into making it a reality. So I just kind of want to see it all happen the way it's meant to happen. So I'm definitely not angry about it. When I look at what this thing is trying to be, I think it's just trying to be a weird device that just will do a bunch of different things. And I think it's not even trying to appeal to the likes of myself and you. They're trying to appeal to what I think Nintendo found with the market with the NES and Super NES Classic, with a device that appeals to the lapsed gamer, to the older individual who maybe remembers some of these things from their childhood and is willing to buy into a box that will allow them to play the games they remember from their childhood just for the sake of it being a cool, fun trip down memory lane. But also, ooh, it does other cool things, like you can download and stream movies or other content or Steam games and find a whole new array of games that you would otherwise play on your cell phone, but now you can play them on your TV, and maybe it'll play Blu-rays and something, or have Netflix on it or whatever, to be this kind of multimedia device that also plays old school Atari games. I really think that that's the market they're going for. But there are two huge problems. One is obviously the price, as I've discussed, we've all discussed, every other relevant YouTuber has discussed. The price is probably way too much for that, because you're literally in PlayStation 4 Switch territory with the $250 to $300 price point. And it's just not worth it to be able to stream Netflix and the occasional Steam game or mobile games and cell phone games. Like, that's just not going to be interesting to people at a $200 to $300 price point. The other big thing is also something I talked about before that I don't see anyone talking about right now, and it's the classic Atari games. Again, those games were great for their time, but I really think that those games nowadays in 2017, 2018, when they would talk about launching this thing, they really only exist as an oddity, as a curiosity for the era of late 70s and early 80s gaming, and as a very fascinating and important snapshot of what gaming was like in its early infancy before Nintendo changed it and made it what it is today. And I don't say that as a Nintendo fanboy, I'm just talking about as a curator of the actual history of gaming. It changed with Nintendo, and Nintendo's NES in the mid-80s literally created the gaming industry we are still playing in today. But Atari's games and the stuff from beforehand, games that I grew up loving and still like and have a great memory of, they're not still interesting, they're not fun to play today. NES and Super NES and Genesis and 8 and 16-bit games are literally still relevant and can still be fun and impressive today. Even for short bursts, and even for the younger gamer that didn't play them growing up, they're still interesting and fun to play today. But that's like as far back as you can go. Once you take that further step back and you get into the old 4-bit and the dot matrix game days from the Commodore 64 and the Intellivision and the Ataris and all that stuff, Again, they're interesting pieces of history, but they are not still fun. It's just, that's where you hit the wall that divides fun gameplay you can still enjoy and gameplay that's just too old to really still enjoy. And no one, I think, is going to be interested in buying a machine to play River Raft and even the best games like Yar's Revenge or Defender, and those games that were amazing classics back then, but they're not going to be great today. They're just not going to be great today, so you can't sell a $300 device on old 70s Atari games. And so at the end of the day, my opinion really just comes down to the fact that I don't think this thing is going to be successful. I don't think it's going to be crowdfunded to the point of being created, and even if it is, I don't think it's going to release and actually be successful and make a splash. Obviously, I could be wrong, so in case you're watching this at, December 2018, and you know that the Atari Box came out and is a mega smash and everyone loves it, and even maybe I have it and love it, I'm saying right now that maybe this whole theory is wrong. But I don't think it's wrong. I think that this thing, whether it happens or not, I just don't think it's going to be a big hit. I'm not interested in it. I think Atari is making a big mistake with how they're putting it together. But again, I do also think they're reaching a different market. So all of us who are core gamers that pay attention to Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft, I don't think Atari is necessarily trying to grab our attention. But it all remains to be seen, as it usually does. Who knows how this is going to be playing out come summer next year, 2018 or 2019, whenever this thing might even come out, and how the crowdfunding campaign goes on Indiegogo. I have no idea. We all have no idea. So, I mean, I'm curious to see, man. If Atari makes a big hit, that's great. I'd rather Atari be successful and come out and have a hit and make a bunch of money and everything works out hunky-dory. So, I don't know, man. That's just my opinion. So, of course, as always, talk about it below, guys. I want to hear your thoughts and your theories. I know a lot of people have a lot of feelings about what's going on all sides of the fence. I guess I shouldn't say that. It's mostly pretty much negative towards what's going on, but yeah, I don't know. Talk about it below, guys, and I think that's going to be it for me on this topic today. So, thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.